episode 4. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Hana Schmidt show, and today we have the honorary, the amazing Gustav, known as Gus, also on Twitter. That's how I know him. I know him from Twitter, so. How are you today, bro?
I'm good. Good to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you for coming on. We've had quite a few people request you actually come into the show, so I just wanted to know a little bit about you, like your background. Where were you raised? Were you born in Samoa? Were you born in New Zealand? Could you give us a bit of insight?
Well, my name is Gustav Tyrone Lesau. You don't need to know my date of birth. I was born myself in Auckland, New Zealand, St. Helens.
Is that Central?
Yeah,
right,
Central Auckland. Born and raised, and my background would probably be, well, my name is Gustav, so that originates from a Swedish descent, and my family migrated here in the 50s. And so 1950 they migrated here due to the fact that one of my aunties needed a heart surgery, so they were able to come and get that done by a guy who's knighted at the moment, Sir Richard Barrett Boys, sorry.
Oh, nice.
And
wait, he was a doctor?
He was a doctor.
Aussie.
And so they were able to come here as my great-grandfather came over, and because they had lost another daughter before in Samoa, he didn't want that to happen again. So he came over here, ended up buying a house, and went back and told my great-grandmother that they needed to come here because this guy was going to save the daughter's life. It was that simple.
True, yeah.
And then from that, they migrated over here, and cut a long story short, they actually ended up doing very well, and got to the top. My nana was a seamstress, so
what was their life back in Samoa like?
Well, before they moved here, they were actually already quite privileged, so they were able to move themselves up into the middle to top class because they owned like taxis, they had a couple of dairies.
Right. So they're hard workers.
Hard workers. So with that notion, they moved over here knowing that it was pretty much to save the daughter's life. That's why they came. Then when they came here, they were able to see the opportunity that New Zealand was able to provide. And my great-grandma at the time brought a lot of families over. Like my great-grandma, rest in peace, Eva Danielson, she's Fruin, Eva Danielson Fruin. A lot of the families who migrated in Central Auckland, not a lot, but a few, my great-grandmother sponsored these people. So she done a lot for that as well.
Right.
And then, like I was saying, my nana and that moved into business, so they're a seamstress, and they came over here, and my nana was able to had contracts for like Chantons and Glassons. And
nice.
A lot of these big companies.
Glassons have been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
Years,
I thought it was just like a new thing for young people.
I think late 70s to early 80s.
Right.
So they were running that business, and I'm not sure what happened in regards to where it went, but that was kind of my foundation, and we also come from a religious background as well. Like my great-grandfather, they belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so they're Mormons.
Oh, nice. LDS.
Yeah. So my great-grandfather was actually a Catholic.
Oh,
and then
did he convert?
Well, I told you that my great-grandmother was an alpha female. So you convert or we don't get married. It was that, and she had that much power as well. So that's how he became a Mormon. And when they came here, he ended up becoming the first bishop out of America. So my foundation is actually very religious, and I grew up, and I feel I give credit to that to be where my kind of morals came from, like the religious background. That's what I take for it, because I'm not religious these days, you know.
But those values were instilled in you
exactly.
growing up.
And also, being a Samoan as well, the foundations were put in us, but yet we were also told, am I going there?
Yeah, go there,
okay.
Bro. Go there, bro.
You know, we were also told to kind of act a certain way.
What do you mean certain way?
Well...
Wait, being Samoan in New Zealand?
Yeah, being Samoan in New Zealand. So...
How did they tell you to act?
They told us to not act like Samoans. So my nana would say things like, don't go there because that's where the fobs are.
Oosh.
Or... like I was saying, like when we used to have lunch or like big lunches, you know, the whole table, it's massive. It's all about the quantity, but my family was all about the quality.
Right.
That's kind of how they looked at things, as like, we don't need that much.
Yeah.
And then also in regards to, let's say indigenous island food, we were allowed to have taro, kuma, but if you know in the Samoan culture, it's a hierarchy culture. So we weren't allowed the crab, you were not allowed luau, that's for great grandma. And then she also had this in her head where, because they had come to a new society, and they were being told certain things about the foods that they ate. My great-grandmother looked at it as, oh, well, if that's not good for this generation, then they're not having that.
Right.
And she, like I was saying, she looked at it, I looked at it at the time where she conformed to colonization. That's how I always looked at it.
Because if you get like maybe who knows, a first year uni student and who's just started his history paper as in BA or something, when you said, your nana said, stop acting like fobs?
Fobs, yeah.
Or don't go where the fobs are, they'll be like, you're whitewashed, you're
Exactly.
colonized, you don't
Exactly.
understand, you know, and there's a big misunderstanding around that, I guess. So could
And I think that's where the notion of the plastic Samoan kind of stems
Yes,
from.
yeah.
Is we weren't, at the time, I had been called that a few times, but I looked at it as like, well, wait a minute, at my house, we're very cultured. Like at my nana's house, we're very cultured. Like you had to kind of, if you couldn't speak Samoan, you had to try.
Right.
But it wasn't something that was forced into us. And I used to look at it before and think, well, it's because they used to cane my nana, you know, and that's why she couldn't do that. But then after speaking to my older auntie and my dad, they were like, no, Granny wasn't like that. She used to say, if you're not allowed to speak it at school, then you don't speak it at school. And that wasn't her giving up to colonization, that was her being obedient.
That was her assimilating?
Yeah,
Would that be the right word?
exactly. And
So
I
it
saw
was,
her reading the play. Hey, that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
I call
yeah.
it. Hey, I call it now reading the play. My great grandmother saw.
So it's not that she hated her own people
No,
or anything,
not
right?
at all. Not at all, because even though her complexion was white, once she starts talking, you know she's Samoan. So she's never going to hide away from that.
Yeah.
But what she was able to understand straight away was that's not the way that we're going to win in this world.
So she knew the game.
Yeah, she figured the game real quickly from when they were sending her credit cards, gold one. She, oh, what's this gold one? Yep, chuck it in the rubbish. I don't need that, that's the devil. These people are trying to set me up.
Wow.
And she used to say that right from
Sounds
the
like a
get-go.
hustler.
She was. But she was a real woman who was, as much as she was a person who hustled, she was the concrete, And she bred the hustlers.
True.
So she didn't have to hustle herself because Granny don't need to do that. You do that.
Yeah.
But she gave you the tools to go and do that. And then from there, my nana, she 7 years old, migrated here. She went to Kofa Intermediate, Auckland Girls. They went to Grafton Primary at the time. So then, moving into there, my nana didn't, as much as she also spoke like Samoan every day.
Right.
When she went to school and that, she also herself was quite fine with not being seen as a Samoan. Plus my nana was also white as well. So my nana was this lady and she was very beautiful and she looked not like a Samoan.
Yeah.
So she was able to, besides when
She
you hear her
sounds like
talk.
she was firm. She knew who she was. She wasn't having an identity crisis.
Exactly.
She knew where she was from, she knew where she was going, and she was going to go there regardless of what, you know.
And that's it. And I think that comes from that taught behavior, Because as Pacific Islanders, it's hard for us to go and learn new things because we're always being told what we should know or how you should be. And that's how even though my granny was a bit dictatorship in that, it was for the benefit of my nana.
Yeah,
So
good
then,
intentions.
Yeah, for sure. And then my nana, being as obedient as she was, she adopted that same thing, but then different influences came in when she owned the business and started making a lot of money and getting to this other level.
Right, so you come from a very good, hard-working family.
Yeah.
You know, good background, good foundation. So a lot of people ask about your tweets that, you know, being gangster and all of that stuff. I don't want to, you know, go really deep into it, but I just want to ask, you know, are you a true gangster? Are you? No, that's not the question I want to ask.
It really depends how you define the word.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone wants to be a true gangster.
No,
Who
not
wants
at
to be
all.
caught up in that lifestyle?
Nah. And I think that's where people get caught up with the word. The word wouldn't be too much as, are you a gangster? Because if you understand, well, give my little background first before I get into how I kind of know these things.
Right.
So I talked to you about how my family became to this
came to
level.
Samoa. Came to New Zealand.
And then my nana was able to move up the food chain and become very, very successful. And then my grandfather also became successful in his job in New Zealand. And so from that, you should think, well, then, hey, we're on.
Yeah.
This firstborn New Zealand generation should, I don't know, send us to heaven, I guess.
Yes,
because they've already set it up, My nana, they've already done the hard work.
I had an interesting conversation with Christian about that because he was saying, you know, the immigrants come, they work hard, they know what it's like, they know the game, and then it's the kids that mess it up for, you know.
And
what do you think about that?
Well,
yeah.
Mess it up is not a word I'd use now, because
Yeah.
as you find as you get older, instead of trying to hold your dad accountable for what you feel he done wrong, why don't you just learn from him in regards to what he done wrong and make sure that that doesn't happen again?
Right.
Because for many years I looked at my dad as being the problem. And that's why I don't
You're
want to get
blaming
into
him
it
for
too much.
everything.
Yeah, because I used to think, Dad, why don't you do
Yeah.
this? Dad, you guys had this, Dad. But what about my dad being young, 17, firstborn in New Zealand, not even knowing what the hell this all was?
Yeah.
And then to grow into such financial privilege,
Right.
and being a Pacific Islander. Okay, so I guess so what I'm saying is, so from that background that my dad had growing up, his foundation was on. Now, why he made the choice to join a gang, I'll never know. Because he tells me, son, I was just on K Road, these young guys, Mongol Moles, want to have fun with me, so I just beat them up, and then some guy comes up to me and tells me, hey bro, you're pretty good at fighting, bro. Do you want to come and hang out with us? And a lot of people don't know this, but the King Cobras actually started off as they were like a group that helped the community. So they were like a boys group.
Yeah.
They were actually getting government funding at the time when that's how they were able to buy their
So
properties.
they're like an organization.
They started off as an organization, because remember they stemmed from the Black Panthers.
True, yes.
Not Black Panthers, Polynesian Panthers, sorry.
Wakanda!
Are we the same? I thought we were the same. Poly lives matter. But yeah. So I guess from there, I always, like I said, I was looking at my dad, but he was saying that because at the time, you got the 1975 was the Bastion Point thing.
Yes.
He's up there with all his friends, 14-year-old, think they know everything.
And do you know what I always think about is how buzzy, because we're in the age of technology, we text, we call. Imagine how buzzy they'll be like, Mom, I'm going to meet up with the boys, and they're all just in the same like mindset, like probably on their bikes going to meet each other and stuff like that. It would have been like, that's the only thing they're thinking about.
And they were supposedly doing this to represent a cause.
Yes,
but my dad said, once you get out there, because you're so young, you forget what the cause was.
Yeah.
And then you just start causing havoc. And that's what kind of happened. So then from there, the Polynesian Panthers, they stemmed into the King Cobras. Then they got the boys group and that. But then what started happening was things started becoming territorial. And
why do you think that was?
Because Pacific Islanders and Māoris were the only ones playing the game. And not the only ones playing the game, because don't get me wrong, there are white other gangs around at that time. But what my dad and that took from it was, because it started becoming territorial, they just wanted to protect their area.
Right.
So what my dad was about, so we're from Central. If you picture Central Auckland, K Road to kind of being like a place like Otara Flea Market. So if you think of K Road being a place that was kind of like Otara, so it's where my aunties and my nanas and all my nanas' friends used to go do their shopping.
Right.
Fruit and vegetables and everything. My dad had it in his head that he didn't want them to have to run into gang members. Walking around with their patches.
Yeah.
And my nan doesn't want to see that. So my dad, I don't know, made it his duty to make sure that they don't do that.
Right.
Because the whole area at the same time was what they called gentrifying,
Gentrification.
So, yeah. So Central was going through that at the same time.
Yeah.
So everybody was trying to claim the areas, because my dad goes, when they were growing up, if you said that you're from Ponsonby, people would laugh at you.
And now when you grow up and you say you're from Ponsonby, people bow down to you.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden everybody wants to be from Central. Well, let's be honest, when the people from Central started migrating, and then my nana said that they used to come and knock at your door. So they come knock at your door and they give you cards. Hey, I'm from the thing, are you trying to sell your house? No, we're not trying to sell our house.
Right.
So there was a lot of that done, like knocking on doors, trying to convince Pacific Islanders.
Who's this? Who was
Random
this?
people, like random real estates and
So
the people who were trying to gentrify the area.
White people?
Yeah, white people.
Okay, so
Yeah.
were they like licensed real estate
Yeah.
agents?
So they'll come around and be like, hey,
right.
we just coming around here, whether to buy or sell.
Oh,
Hey, we're
okay.
looking for a property around this area.
And so people became territorial.
Yeah. And then like, oh, well, you got to move out south, because remember, and another big move that made a lot of Pacific Islanders move out south was the fact that Fisher and Paykel moved to East Tamaki.
And that's where all the jobs were?
That's where a lot of our people worked.
Yeah.
Because I worked at Fisher and Paykel, and no offense to them, they fired me anyway. I work for my family now, so I don't care. I'll never get fired again.
Exactly,
I'll never get fired again. But when I went into their induction, I sat there and then they said to me, They were saying to everyone, yeah, so when we moved out here in the 70s, you know, that was something we done for the Polynesian people. And then I was like, pardon? How did you do that for the Polynesian people?
Right, yeah.
And he's like, oh, because, you know, we moved out here closer to you. And I go, well, that's weird because we were all in Central.
True.
So if you moved us out to East Tamaki, that wasn't for us.
That's for themselves.
Because we're there.
Yeah.
No, you just wanted to move us out. You wanted to take us out.
Yeah.
And it was only the very...
Did you say that to your...
Yeah, I said it to the guy.
And what did he say?
No, he was like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't know that side of the history. And I said, well, before you talk about it, you should know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and he's the one hosting the induction.
Yeah.
Get your facts straight,
and that's what he says, like, as if like, he said it to kind of be cool. Like, yeah, that's why we kind of brought this out here, you know, because a lot of the Polynesian people we had working for us and we wanted to make it closer to their houses. Well, that's weird. We were living in Pontaby, Greyland.
Yes.
So that wasn't closer to our houses.
Yeah.
So right then, that's when all this going against each other started coming in, because then you got the ones going to South Auckland, then you got the ones sitting in Central thinking they're better, and you got the West Auckland ones who are thinking they're better.
Exactly.
And then like, I love the Niueans because the Niueans in Central Auckland, see before, my dad was saying that in the 70s, it was mainly Cook Islanders, Māoris, Niueans and hippies. The Tongans didn't really start migrating to like mid to late 80s.
Oh, buzzy.
That's when they started all coming, because they're a kingdom, you know, and they haven't been colonized.
Kingdom. you guys haven't been colonized.
No, you haven't been colonized, so that's why you guys came late. But you know, so what I'm trying to say is the Niueans then ended up packing and going to Auraki. That's why the Niueans ended up in Auraki now. There's 3 Niueans in there in Auraki. And then the Samoans went Otara, Mangere. And then whatever ones could afford to stay in there, stayed in there. So bringing that back to my dad and him joining the gang, I felt at the time, he just thought, because he had everything going for him, it was just something that he thought he could go fight with his friends. Even people that I see, like from my dad's era, they always say, oh man, your dad always used to come around and buy us fish and chips. And, you know, he was the man, he looked after the hood, you know. But to be honest, me and my dad talk about it, and he just joined the gang because he was good at violence. And he loved violence. He was good at it, and he was really, really good at it.
Like a fighter? Shanks and shifts? Or...
Oh, no shanks, no shifts. Just one on the jaw, you hit the floor. My dad always says, son, if in doubt, knock him out. Huh?
That's a good saying.
And then my dad goes, because if you're wrong, son, you can always apologize. Oh, okay. And if you're right, then you can go,
Life lessons.
And I was always that son that was like, oh, mom, dad's trying to teach me how to fight. I don't want to fight. You know? But I guess that was my dad's, because my dad became good at it. That's what he was good at. And so that was his way of being a father to us.
So you are basically, you know, you're learning off your dad, right? He's been there, he's done that, and not from the point where he was trying to make a living from it. He had everything. He had the resources to get by, but he was just in there because he chose to. He chose to.
And why a lot of people ask me and my brothers why we've never joined the gang. And it was very simple for me, because my dad, like, he said to us one day, and he sat us down, me and my brother, because me and my other brother were like a 1.5 year apart, and then my other brother's like 8 years younger. So me and this brother, we sat down and, you know, we grew up just like any other young boy, not just like any other young boys, but we grew up, we were tagging, we were out, running amok, being naughty, blah, blah, blah. So my dad knew that that's what we were going to go and do.
He knew?
Oh, he knew, because we had an open relationship with our dad. I could tell him. My dad's that dad. Son, make sure you win. You know?
Well, I find that very interesting. What's it like? Because I know a lot of boys who don't have a good relationship with their dads. And I'm not going to say there's a certain reason why, but what's it like to have an open relationship with your dad, where you can tell him, like you smoke up, or you can tell him all of that?
I could tell my dad that I didn't want to go to school today, and he's just like, go wash the dishes and you can have the day off.
What's that like?
It's good and it's not good.
Right.
Because it's good.
Are you seeing your dad as your friend?
Well, he will never be seen as our friend, because my dad was an enforcer. So you never really, I didn't get hidings from my dad, because my dad knew if he hits us, he's going to break me. so he knew, you know, but he always made sure that the relationship between him and I, or him and my brothers, was respect, not fear.
Makes sense,
You know, because fear will have you not coming home.
Yes.
Respect will.
Yes.
And that's why I think a lot of our kids these days, they're just scared of their parents. And when you're scared, the first thing you do when you're scared, you either hide or run. You don't go back to what's scared. And I think that's why with our parents, even though we had an open relationship and stuff, it's good. And then sometimes it can have some negatives in regards to just go and see how it works, or go out there and But the good thing, like I was saying with my dad, is he educated us on that.
And you know what that is? That's generational informative wealth. And
Exactly.
that's the most important thing.
And I used to see it as a negative before. I used to be like, oh.
Well, a lot of people do. You know, like freaking someone was saying, you know, it's your ancestors' fault that you did this. I can't go time travel back and tell my ancestors what the hell to do. You just learn from
That's it. And you
what
have to,
yeah.
you have to, you know, because like I was saying to you before, was I always used to look at my dad and blame him for things.
Right.
Rather than now, I look at him and I grab all the qualities of things that he's taught me.
Right.
And what he has taught me is, you know, with his thing, if in doubt, knock him out, is that's kind of taught me to just stand there, like just stay and just ride it. Because at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? I can get knocked out. And even though I know I'm not going to physically get that, I now put that in my life now. As I just add these things to the thing, and I know at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
Get knocked out. Well, I'm all good with that. You know, because I've never been knocked out.
So, you know, your dad really educated you guys because he didn't want you guys going down the same path. And you're learning off that, and you're trying to tell people about, well, you're not trying to go and be like, I know my shit, blah, blah, blah.
Never that.
Yeah.
But I did, like I told you, I grew around with a group of boys, you know, the BDS brothers.
Is that BDS? Yeah, I
the
see
BDS
that.
brothers, and all of them have been educated by my dad. I remember one little story, I'll just tell you a little story, just a quick one.
Yeah.
One time we got jumped, eh?
Straight to the point.
We got jumped and we go home, we go back to my dad's house. It's like 12 of us, 13 of us, we're all in there, we wake up my dad.
Yeah.
You're like, Dad, we're gonna go get them. He's like, no, what's going on? These guys just jumped us at the thing. We know where they live, Dad. We know where they live. Then he's like, okay, let's go then. He's comfortable as my dad. He's comfortable in this realm. Stands up, get ready, and he's like, okay, boys, so everyone's ready to go. And we're like, yeah. How far are you guys willing to go? And we're like, all the way, Dave. You can hear all my friends. All the way, Dave. All the way to jail.
Oh. Because that's the reality.
And then we look
right?
at him, and then we're like, oh no. And he goes, yeah, well, sit down, boys. And then from there, that's when he
Your
said
dad
to
sounds
us,
crack up.
oh, because he's as real as they come. Like he done what he went in there to do. So he was able to tell us, like I said before, was if you're not, one day you're going to get a call from someone and you're going to have to do something you don't want to do. Are you willing to do that? And when me and my brother both answered no, because I can barely get told what to do by my dad. So how the hell would I listen to anyone else?
Yeah.
And once I realized that, that's when I was like, nah, it's not for me. And that's based off
That's
the back
scary,
of my dad.
though.
Like,
one day they'll call you and they'll tell you I'll tell you to do something.
they have to.
And it could be anything.
It could be
It
anything.
could be killing someone.
Yeah.
It could be chopping off a finger.
Yeah.
Oh
Or
no,
the
that's
person has
mostly
to
for
go collect
loans.
some
Hey,
money,
that's mostly
yeah.
for loans. Don't tell me how I know. Ask him.
But you know, and that's what you find up in the gangs is 95% of them are thugs. There's only 5% gangsters. So when I say you define the word of gangster, a gangster is a real thing. Because a gangster is a person who was able to go into that life, maximize their profit, move over to the other side, and now make something of this life. And that's a gangster.
Right.
A thug is a person who always stand there. You'll see them at the clubs buying up the bar, but they're spending the gangsters' money.
Right.
Because they need to, remember, gangsters, just like any other business in life, you've got to create a profile.
Yes, yeah.
But the best gangster lets them create the profile while he creates the bank account. But don't tell them that. They'll get angry. You know, the people, the ones you walk around and you see them all showing off, they're not the gangsters.
Yes.
They're the 95% of, you know, people who just kick rocks. But they're the ones who go and do all the jobs and go and do everything. And then the gangster's sitting at home with his family and they're in private schooling, you know. Because
I know a few.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice houses, and it's the boys run. They use the younger boys to go run.
Exactly, because that's how it works. It's a business.
Yes.
And those who can maximize the profit, because you know, people in New Zealand are stuck on money laundering. You see a lot of gangsters playing pokies.
The anti-money laundering organization, they're very strict on accounts now.
Yeah, well, you look at the gangsters, they think going and playing pokies is money laundering. No, that's not, because your character's still the same.
Exactly.
You need to change who you are. But yeah, we're going to move into the influences.
No, I wanted to talk, you know, because of your background. Were you interested in politics or no? You just didn't care about it, because you had other shit going on, or what?
I think with politics, like where we came from, is what I kind of see now. I only see them like once a year.
Nah.
You know, maybe my attitude towards them was always like, well, just like my attitude in the street is like, if you only saw your friend once every year, is that really your friend?
Nah, they're not. Yeah.
So then when you had these people coming to your neighborhood, the same neighborhood that you had to go and do these things in to make money to feed your family, well, those people are not going to mean anything to you, because you're like, whoa, I never seen you when we didn't have dinner, or when I had to have Weet-Bix for dinner.
They're not involved.
No, they're not involved.
As they say they are, but
That's
every
it.
election year they're like, Talo Falava.
Yeah.
I am the running candidate for blah.
Find the
So
worst are our
performative.
people, like-
Yeah.
And our people, because we've been brought up in a culture where we've always been taught to do things, they now think that they've gone to that position that they can now, they know what's better for us. Whereas kind of whereas you think about it, the collective should be, hey, you get up to the top and show us how to get there.
Exactly.
Not just keep telling me on things that we should do because you're saying that whilst you're up there.
Telling us things we can do and what we can't do. You can't tell us what we cannot do.
Yeah, and then my parents never voted, like my dad and they never voted because like my dad said, they never voted with my nana and dad because they didn't have to at that time because they were privileged.
Yeah, it's true. So it didn't bother them because it's politics is politics.
Yeah.
We're going to make it regardless if it's national or Labour. Yeah.
And that was the thing. And then I asked them about Labour.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, because they're the first ones who spoke for us. Well, was that person Pacific
During the dawn
Islander?
raids.
Oh, hell, when they wanted everyone to work in a warehouse. Like, you know, and that's the thing is these governments were the same governments that changed, you know, educated schools in like Northland and that's a forestry schools and they pretty much work on, well, this is how we saw it. I just saw it and it was this simple because I'm sounding like I actually saw it too much because I honestly
it sounds like you time travel.
Yeah. I'm kind of feeding it with information I know now, but at the time it simply was that. Who are they? Where are they from? Why do you want to come here? And what do you got to do with us?
Right.
And for that reason, came 18, no one wanted to enroll to vote.
Right, but what do you think about politics now?
Oh.
With all your experience, with your background, you know.
I kind of see it now as you need to pick the policy that rolls for the future that you want to be.
Right.
Not for where you are now. Because I think as people, Pacific Islanders, we're always saying same shit, different day, when it's not. Because when you're actually chasing something, it's a different day, but it's different shit.
Right.
And I think us as a people, like me personally, when I look at politics now, I try and look for the leaders that resemble me. So I try and look for leaders that I know that younger kids are going to be like, oh yeah, no, that person's kind of cool. Or no, I could go and talk to that person. See, I didn't even know until this year that you're allowed to book appointments with local electrics and go and talk to them. I did not know that.
Oh, neither did I. I didn't know till last year.
Yeah, someone told me the other day, like, oh, do you know you can go through and talk to them? No. So the other day, I seen a conservative guy putting up his sign. So I jump out. I want to see what he's about. You know, because this is the person who wants to run our area. So let's go see what he's about. And not getting into too much of their policies, but just the fact that we're able to have this constructive conversation, put your emotions to the side and see what they're about.
Exactly.
Not just come here and just, are you conservative, you're rubbish, you don't even know him.
Right.
But yet these same people will vote for another person because that person's saying what they want to hear.
And that divide has been around for so long.
Oh, no.
And I'm honest to God, people are just fucking sick of it. They're sick of the, oh, you're that side, I'm that side. It's not left and right that's dividing us. It's media. It's these short 20-second clips that make people look bad because that's how they profit.
And our own people are jumping, like, the only reason why I talk about my own people is because I always find that once we established that we were Labour, we just all rolled there. And even when when I started voting, which was only about 5 to 6 years ago, I just voted Winston Peters.
True.
Yeah,
Say also.
I just like him. I like him. I like
Why do you like him?
Because I just feel that, well, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he just bums people out. Because
Bro,
that's how I saw
yeah.
politics. I just thought it's a funny thing. And I just thought, this guy is funny, bro. Like, I never read his policies. I just always voted for him.
Yeah.
Because Winston will stay Winston. That's what I love about Winston.
Right.
Winston's Winston.
Yeah.
Even though Winston needs to retire now.
Yeah, I was cracking up when News Hub released the piece, like I think it was a few weeks ago, and he was just having a smoke outside the uni, and they were making it a big deal out of those. He was smoking in an anti-smoking. I was like, can you just relax, bro? You know how many students smoke there all the time? They really need to chill because they're out of touch with the reality of how people actually are in real life.
And that's what the media does to all of us.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't know that again until I went to uni. I thought, because I was one of those people who thought, I'm not going to be influenced by nothing.
Yeah.
Like, no one influences me, like on TV, until I went to uni, and then I realized, that's how they're influencing us. Yeah, I did go buy that toothpaste. Yeah, I did go do this. Yeah, into consumerism and all that. And I never knew that. I just thought I was just doing this because that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then when I actually now understand how much of the media influence or the media
You're now
influences people.
careful on what to believe, eh? I didn't believe any of the shit that comes,
Neither.
man, honestly.
Like, and then you're like, okay, well, show me.
Yeah.
And because like I was saying to you before, is now that I've moved into what I call the buzz, is everything is about show me now. Like, don't just tell me, because I was that person. I was that person who, you know, hard.
Yeah.
And that person who just thought you had the best advice, but then you weren't willing to take any from anyone else.
Yeah.
So the best advice I ever learned. But when I've started to learn that best growth comes when you turn that advice on yourself. And that's why with politics now, I generally look at it as what party is the best party to lead the country in the right place, not the people. Because I feel as people, you're going to make your own decision anyway, regardless of what the policies are.
Yeah.
But because that comes down to me as self-accountability. Like, I feel that we live so much in a blame culture these days. Is like, I couldn't believe like shaming. Well, I couldn't believe shaming is like an everyday word now. Shaming, phobic. And then I'm just thinking, well, maybe that person just got smart about it. Job shaming is the new one. I was talking about on Twitter. Job shaming. So it's looking down on people who have jobs. Like if you look down on the janitor. Well, if that guy looks down on the janitor,
he's the fucking asshole. You didn't have to create a whole movement around it.
Yeah,
just tell that guy shut the hell up and
that was
go
another
back to
thing that
business.
I didn't like about the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
Is what I didn't like was the fact that I wasn't allowed to say that I was an islander. They were like, no, remember, we're here for the black people. I'll tell this to you and the black person. I'm here for me to support you, brother. That me coming down here does not make me black. But yeah, I didn't like that notion about it. And I went to the march because me and my brother and my sister.
I was there too.
Yeah, let's go have a look. Let's go have a look. And I just thought, because you can't talk about something if you weren't there.
Exactly.
So when I went down, you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the unity. I enjoyed that. But I didn't see none of these people at Ihumato. You know what I mean?
And
that's not me trying to say that, who the hell do you think you are? You should have been at Ihumato. But keep the same energy across all boards.
Absolutely.
Because then what that does to me is it makes me think that you're just a person who just jumps on wherever the energy is good at that time.
Or you're just a person who turns on your TV and believe everything that the person at the TV tells you.
or you're, you know, and I guess that was our culture as well, is we're always quick to just trust. And growing up,
respecting.
Exactly.
You know,
And I grew up in a culture where my dad always used to say, the best advice is in one ear, out the other, and you keep all the good stuff. But what it ruined for me was the ability to sometimes not speak out, because I was always being told at home that that's wrong.
Yes.
You know, and that's when I think that leads to us always trusting the next person.
Yeah.
Why don't you just don't worry about that person, go have a look yourself.
And I think it's very different because, you know, in New Zealand, you can't just sit back. You got to put your foot in the door and you got to stand up for yourself. And, you know, it may seem cocky, but you can't make it anywhere if you don't have that persona.
Because you look at it, we're always being told to be humble.
Yeah.
How many white people have you met that are humble?
None.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry, I take it back.
Well, I wouldn't say none. But, but the good thing about white people, the thing I love about white people is when I talk to them, he gonna tell me about him.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
So why should I be shy and not tell him about me?
Exactly.
So the other day I had a conversation with a white guy and he was talking about something, but I had a problem with him trying to think that he was thinking for me. So I said to him, bro, you know what the problem with you are? Is we're talking about a subject here, but you think I don't know about it.
Yeah.
But I do. And I know more than you.
Yeah.
And that's the only issue I have. But I love that they come and they're just open. They're just going to bang it out, tell you about them.
When you talk with them, they expect you to come back with something.
Exactly.
And you have to say it quick, you have to say it firm, and you have to say it confidently. Because
And
if you
it has
don't,
to be
they'll look
fact.
they'll look at you and they'll just think, oh, he just doesn't know what he believes in.
And this is why the islanders got angry, because then they just think in their head, oh, he's just making me feel like I'm dumb. That wasn't part of what you were talking about, and he just called you out.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And that's why I look at the society that we live in, and I'm thinking, and I was this person. See, I'm not trying to say this like I was never this person.
I was that person too. So
I just used to look at the system and be like, the system doesn't work for us. The system, no, but look, that person got a higher charge. And you know, because I was like, I want to be lawyer, you know, because I went and done first year law. Hey, but I got A's, so don't worry. Oh, A- still counts. But after going to uni, I just thought the system was against us, especially because I went into law, the first year law, and I thought I'd done well. So then I came out as this person that I could have been a lawyer, And I wasn't acting like that, but any type of information that anyone asked me about, I go, oh bro, but you gotta watch out because the media influences you. And they taught me that even when you watch movies and like, you know, that they're tricking us. And
it's
like,
just a whole lot of fear.
It was fear.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
And because I'm so good at arguing, I'm winning my argument. So I'm thinking, I'm right.
Yeah.
I smoked that right wing. Yeah. And that's how I used to be, to be honest.
Right.
Is I was this person that, and I've changed now, and I'm grateful because I'm on the buzz, but
I want to get into the buzz. Yeah.
So that person of trying to make people feel wrong, even though you aren't right, it's good to be right, but doesn't mean you need to make the next person feel wrong. And I used to do that a whole lot,
right.
Especially when I was a leftist.
Yeah.
The only thing why I wasn't getting into too many arguments online, is because I suck at writing.
Yeah.
So I like having face to face.
Yeah, and you're so well spoken. Not saying this. That sounds pretty racist. You know, they say, "Oh, I hate it when Balangis tell me that I'm so well spoken because that's racially profiling."
Yeah, no, that's
not racially profiling
it's not,
you at all.
because some of us speak stupid. So if you're going to say that you sound like a white person because you're speaking fluently or you're speaking good, I just mastered the language of English.
Yes.
Other people, we always get lazy and just use all these dumb words. Don't get me wrong, I use those dumb words with those dumb people, but you don't. I find that we're just falling underneath the bar because we need to get everything up to scratch.
Yes.
The language, the speaking every day, the conversations, the discussions that we're having. Like, you know, we used to sit there so many times when we were talking about dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I've found now that every conversation I try to have, it has to mean something, or I don't want to have it.
Yeah.
You know,
and we need to lift that, you know.
Exactly, you know, there's not enough of like us just coming over. Like, soon as people see that you're national, I don't want to talk to her.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
She may know something that you don't.
Exactly.
That's why I don't like when people say, "Oh, if you're not doing as good as me, then I don't get advice from you." The best advice, some of the best advice I've been given in my life is from homeless people.
Yeah.
From homeless people.
Yeah, because people who fail, they've experienced.
Exactly, but I hate that when people are like, "Oh, if you're not at the top of the game, or you're not heading in the same direction as me, then I will not take advice from you." That's so wrong.
I'm guilty of that, to be honest. I've said that a couple of times on my tweets.
I'm not trying to say that if you're trying to be a politician, go and talk to a homeless person about being a politician. No. I'm talking about like just your everyday talk. They can tell you, like this guy told me the other day, like he said that. So he explained to me why he was in the position he was in. And then from there, he was able to kind of make me understand that even though he's in this position, he still looks at life as being a good place to be because he doesn't want to commit suicide. So what I took from that is, no matter how life can be, bro, just look at it and just think it's, you know, think that there are going to be better days ahead. Yeah, I could have learned that off someone else, but I did learn it off him as well. And that's what I feel is a lot of our people, instead of looking down on other people, and because we grew up in culture, we always want to look down.
Yeah.
Just look eye to eye. If that person isn't the person that they think are, then move on.
Yeah. Well, Aliota had I watched one of his, you know, Aliota from Border. He had an interesting concept around that. I watched one of his podcasts and he said that it's a slavery mindset. That, you know, you tell people to think less of themselves, to not believe in themselves, and you bring them down.
And I think that's what Kanye was getting at as well.
Oh, true.
When he said that not that he didn't believe in slavery, but he claims to think that slavery is not as bad or shouldn't have that much effect today as it did back then. And I think he even went as far as saying that it wasn't slavery.
Oh, right. Yeah, people were just...
I think he said it was different working conditions.
Yeah. It was a different contract.
It's a different CEO, different business.
So this year, you know, did you hear about the stabbing that happened in Australia with Solomone?
Yeah, the young Melbourne boy. Yeah.
Yes, the young Melbourne boy. And I just wanted to ask you, like, in regard, a lot of people were saying, you know, we have to teach our youth to use social media properly. Some people were saying drill rap was the reason youth were acting this way. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think drill? Because, you know, a lot of polys are involved in the drill scene now. We're coming out there, and it's gonna get big. I can see its trajectory in the future. Yeah. And I know we're gonna make it. So what do you think? Do you think drill is the reason why we're acting all hard and shanking and shoving each other? And my district has too much drillers. Like, who wants it? Like.
And on drill, but Tupac and Biggie were killed in '96 and '97. So this ain't something new. It's
not the music, in your opinion.
No, it's not the music. Sorry. I'm not going to go saying it's not the music. The music has influence, but if your structure in your own home is not stronger than the music, then you need to look at your home And like, as I grew up listening to rap, and I was telling you, I had a conversation with my cousin who's now a bishop, and he talks about how much it influenced us growing up. We used to listen to a particular group like Fat Joe and the Terror Squad, and they were big guys, we were big guys, and he reckons that it gave us this false energy of hope.
Oh my gosh, same. I used to listen to like rap music, like Kendrick Lamar. I'm not gonna say I'm like the biggest, rap knowledgeable person, but I used to listen to music and I used to think I was like a gangster. I used to be like, fuck the police, bro, but it was far from my reality.
Exactly.
It was far. I was going to school, coming home, and mom was like, hello, darling, how are you? And here I was listening to this music, and music influences my mind.
Yeah.
Because my family is very musical. My dad was a musician.
Oh, okay.
And so it's something that I hold close to my heart. So now I'm very selective with what I listen to because it influences my mind. And so I have to narrow down on that. But
yeah, so in saying that for you, so if I was to say, did drill rap influence that killing? I can't say no. Yes, it did influence that killing. But can we do something to stop that influence? Yes, we can. The parents can step up. Right. And not saying that the parents of that kid didn't step up. It's the parents of the kids who killed that kid.
Right.
Those parents need to know where their parents are. And that's why they had that big thing about that guy Rob Taufao and the way he talks. I don't agree with a lot of things he says.
I didn't see that drama, but I wanted to.
Oh, there was another one where he blamed girls, like the first one.
That guy! Yes, he was going through at the train station.
He blamed the girls.
Yeah.
That's not the girls either. It's the parents.
Yes.
The parents need to take responsibility for their children, because I was running around the streets at 14, 15, 16, but if the cops called my dad, I'm getting a hiding because my dad knew where I was. He knew where I was. A lot of these kids, and I have an uncle who was used to run, he was the big area constable for Otara for many years. He said, son, the problem is when I go to the house, the parents don't care. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because I can growl the kid, all I want is 15, 16, 17.
So you must be really big on families.
Well, it's about families.
It's about
the foundation, because once you go out that closed doors, once you go out that front door, you're open. You're open to any influence that's out there. Now, my nana was always telling us, she used to trick us a lot though. She'd say, hey, make sure when you go down there, everyone's nana's friends and they're watching you. And we used to honestly think she had friends watching us, because we'd come home and she would know that we had a fight like at St. Joseph's Primary in the front on our way to Greyland Primary. Yeah. And we're like, how the hell we find out? Even though we found out later my sister was snitching. But at the time, we're thinking, whoa. Yeah. And that foundation in itself made us at times think twice.
Right.
And that's why I said the other day about that kid who died in that crash.
Yeah.
Was he listening to drill music? Did drill music influence him? It could have possibly could.
Yeah.
But the choice that he made on that night was done without him thinking about his family.
Yes.
And I know that we're wild because I nearly died in a car crash, and I'm so proud that I walked out of it. But I remember driving erratically down Dominion Road, doing 160, 160, 170 down there. I'm chopping both sides of the lane. I'm not even thinking about death. I'm not thinking about the consequence. All I'm thinking about is we're having a good time. My other friend in the passenger, he's revving me up.
Right. So in saying that, you talked about the buzz before we started this podcast. What would your advice be to young people who, may not come from families that are privileged or may come from broken families? What advice would you give them to be resilient in their lifestyles and the way that they live and conduct themselves as Pasifika people, young people?
The key, I believe...
camera over there.
I believe the key is to find out who you are. It's very key to find out who you are. And I know sometimes the Polynesian culture stops us from being who we are because of the certain things that are in there, but being who you are, and when I say that, I really mean it by, I used to get smart to the kid, like me and my kid were talking about, get the kid that was going and doing his essays, and the kid, we always looked down on that kid, but that kid knew who he was, because today that kid is sitting in some analytical job and he's the man.
Yes, yeah.
So I feel as young men, instead of trying to go and look at joining a crew or a gang to get your social experience or to get friends or to feel loved, you need to start that within yourself as fast as you can. Because let's not say, life is not set up for kids to listen to adults, or then life would be easy. So the last thing people like doing is learning from other people's mistakes, even though they say, you should learn from other... No one wants to learn from other people's mistakes. You want to go and have a go yourself. So at least know what's out there. So my advice, be yourself, bro. Be true. And don't worry if other people don't like you. I've learned that, even my own friends.
Yeah.
And but then I also had to make some own changes in myself to make yourself more, what's the word, like, more happy to be around. And that doesn't mean that you need to be like them, but be yourself, but also understand that other people are different. So you can't, like I was telling you before, I used to go out of my way to make people feel wrong.
Yeah. I used to do that too.
Yeah, whereas now I can literally sit there, and even though they're wrong, I could be like, okay, cool. How do I need to approach this? And I can hit it different ways. Before and I think I learned that from uni, is because I was always told in uni, grab the case, pull the facts out and slam them. So I feel you've got to find your truth.
Like that.
Yeah, and that's why, it's because you're not carrying up, because you're always taught, you remember, you got no emotions, So then you take that to real life. Well, you can't not have no emotions. Because especially when you're dealing with all these mental health issues, and a lot of our generations of families don't understand the concept, so they don't know how to treat it. So that's why I say, if you can find your truth, once you find your truth, and your truth is just who you are, what's your purpose, what do you stand for? Like, are you gonna,
whatever that may be, whether that may be liberal, conservative, whatever, just
anything, like, is this your side, is this your side, are you gonna go be a gangster, are you gonna go and be, whatever you decide to do, you need to go and do your research on who that person is. Because when you're thinking about 14, 15, none of us really knew what we were, or what you even wanted to be.
Absolutely.
So that's because we're trying to look at other people to find out who we're trying to be. But what I've found is, be you, and then those around you, if they don't like you, they just don't.
Yeah.
And then that's just them. But don't be angry at them either.
Yeah.
That's just how they feel, that's just how they are, and that's just how it's going to be. Don't sit around and trying to keep impressing people. That's another thing that I find. There's so much people trying to impress people that when they actually see you, they're not impressed. Because social media runs a lot of things these days. So, with filters and with everything, like, everything's so fake. When you meet people in real life, you're like, whoa, I thought you were going to be like that. Or that's why with social media, I never take social media real. I wait till I meet someone and you're like, okay, that's that person. Right. And that's probably why I'm hated, because everybody just thinks about the things that I say, rather than when you meet me.
But I think they got a problem anyways, because they're trying to judge you from a friggin' tweet. He's like, you got some issues up there, bro. You need to sort out with yourself.
When you actually meet people, a lot of the things that you thought before were not right.
Yeah,
because you never met the person.
Yes.
So is drill rap an influence? Yes, it is. How can it be a lower influence? Is our family structures have to get better. So our parents need to step up. I see so many parents these days just letting their kids do whatever, because that's them being free thinkers. They can free think, but set boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries, kids at that age don't know about consequence until it's right in your face and you're standing in front of the judge. Until you're standing in front of the judge and you're about to go to a boys' home. Yeah. And you just made a bad choice. So I just feel the music's always going to be there. Rap was there, Tupac was there, Biggie was there. The raps, the difference is, like I was telling you, is when you listen to it now, when you've changed your way of thinking, you pick up the positive messages.
Right,
so if you can just try and think positive, I don't mean to be on this positive, happy, no, but just always look on the bright side of things, because it's not always dark, even though that's where you come from. I started in the dark, we started in the dark, that's where we started. Yeah. But when you start to open up your mind and listen to other people and just understand, like, that person can know more than you, and that's fine.
Oh my gosh, honestly.
So if you think that you may be going into a gangster or a gang member, because I need to also understand that gang member and gangster are two different things as well, but if you want to go into that life, you don't use the music as a portrayal of that life, because they are not the same. Because what they do in this drill rap is they promote the best part of it. But they also let you know about what needs to be done, but they don't let you know that these things are being done even if you're being told to do it. So they're not going to break down the actual process of getting there, which is not pretty. No. Yeah. Well, it's not easy. I don't know about whether it's not pretty, because some people are built for what's not pretty. Some people are built for the ugly. But, but you need to make sure that you're built for the ugly. Yeah. So, because that's what it is, and that's what it can get to. That's not what it is, sorry, that's what it can get to, because it can be pretty at times. But it's, are you willing to be there when it gets ugly? Because they don't show that when they're driving their flash car, they don't show that when they've got their money, they're not showing you that.
Yeah, well, generally in business, money sells, and success sells. So of course, we have these rappers and gangsters showing up in their flash cars and these video clips. So you're right, they are showing the best part of the process. And that's the same in business. We only show the best part of the process, but the process itself is what people don't want to see.
Exactly.
They don't want to, because it's hard to relate to that.
Exactly, and you also think about the people who are pushing them to say these things. They don't know about that. These marketing people that are under them.
Yes.
So for example, I was talking about 1-4.
Yeah.
For me, they're running drill rap, but they've moved on from that. That what you're seeing in the progress that they've been able to do is they start off with the negative, but they're not in the negative anymore. They're in a place where they've been able to now let people know that you can get out of that and know that that's not you.
How do you know that they're in that position? Is it a recent interview or their music?
You kind of see them not being out there all the time. They're creating this type of suspense that even has me like thinking like, oh, what are they up to? Where are they going? And I'm supposed to be past that age.
Right.
But they're keeping me on. It's like they got the greatest marketing people with them. They've got the greatest support. They're not doing things where, if they're doing a video clip, they're not going back to the hood.
Yeah,
They're staying at a penthouse.
And I just think their music is great.
And they're being looked after.
Yeah.
And they're listening.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is 1-4 are listening. The guy tells them, they've seen the results, they're listening. They're not in the hood anymore. They're telling them, don't go back there just in case. Yeah. And they don't go back. Because the thing about the hood is a reality of people struggling and all that. And if you try and come in with your positive buzz, if everybody ain't on that buzz, then they're gonna look at it, they're gonna hate on you. And that's just a hood mentality.
No, it just makes sense.
So you're not gonna go back in and change the hood. So stay out there till you become this person who has this great influence on it, and then you can go back. Don't try and go back while you're still on the ground, because you may not make it out. And that's the reality of it. And when I say go back, I'm not just talking about go back and visit, go back and immerse yourself into the culture.
Right.
Because it is there and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So considering, your insight on drill rap and gangster music, drill rap and, what's actually happening in gangs, what would your advice be to, like, let's say just a young person who's raised in a good home, but he listens to this music and he wants to get involved in that kind of stuff because of, how it's sensationalized, the marketing behind it, like we were talking about, because they've been sold to the idea that it's this great lifestyle. What would you tell a young person who is trying to go in that direction?
Well, first and foremost, you got to be good at it, right?
Yeah.
You got to practice. Like,
yeah.
Anybody can do it, because drill rap and gangster rap, to me, always the same things. Drill rap is just something that people just say, oh, that's called drill. When I listen to it, I'm like, oh, 50 was saying that back in the day. Pop was saying that back in the day.
Yeah.
Pun was saying that back in the day.
Yeah.
So to me, they're both the same. But if you're going to get into rap, hip hop, this is hip hop. This is about hip hop. This is something that was a culture that was created for people who were struggling.
Yeah.
So you need to use this as a platform to make good influences. You can rap in these styles, that's fine.
So it's okay to share your stories as long as it has an empowering message.
Exactly.
And
you have to work hard. Rap's like another occupation. You got so many people now just thinking, oh, I got an Aussie accent, I'm a rapper now. And you're like, yeah, but you still need to learn how to rap.
Yeah.
Because rap, and this is coming from a rapper myself, it was all about, wordplay, flowetry.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, techniques, rhyming. It's not just about what you got to say.
Right.
Because who are you and why should I listen to you just because you got something to say with your Australian accent or whatever accent you're using? It's about the message that we're trying to show to the next generation, because they're the ones who are listening to it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't want to be that person, then just tell everyone that you're an idiot and whatever. And then we will still listen to you, but at least we know, oh, that's an idiot rapping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're tricking the kids.
Yeah.
Don't trick the kids. Because the kids will fall into that spot and then they're going to look at,
So do you reckon artists should be more responsible for the content that they release?
They have to be. They get paid to be.
Yeah.
They get paid to be. But also, on the flip side of that is the marketing will also lead them. So it's not always the artist, because if we're seeing now with American rappers like DJ Mustard and all those guys, you've got to buy your rights to actually own yourself. A lot of these rappers don't have that power yet.
Yeah.
They don't have that power yet. But they will have that ability to do that in the near future, so you kind of have to stick to the rules that are there for you. So they can't control everything, but what they can control is what they rap, what they write. They can't tell you what to rap because they don't know how to rap. But they are going to push it a certain way, and they are going to push it on the kids. That's just what they have to do. That's their job. That's how they make money. It's been happening for many years. So it is up to the rapper to just be responsible. And when you're out there, also be an example.
Yeah.
Be an example. If you don't want to be that, then that's fine. Then we already know that you're not that. Because not everybody can be that.
Right.
But just know that there is a little bit of responsibility to set an example for the next generation, especially for Polynesians. We're a minority.
Yeah. And speaking about that, you were talking about, the buzz before. I want you to tell everyone in that camera over there what that buzz means for you, what the buzz means, and what it means for you and how it's helped you and stuff like that.
I think with me, it's funny because I talked to my sister about it, and she said I was just calling it the buzz, but it literally is self-love, and it's self-reflection, self-accountability.
Well, self-love has a lot of definitions nowadays.
Yeah. So accountability, self-reflection. All your positives, put it on yourself. All your negatives, put it on yourself. Because the reason why I say negatives is because in order to fix a negative within yourself, it needs to be fixed within yourself. And this is not taking anything away from mental health or anything like that. I know those things are prevalent and I know they're real. But instead of looking for someone else to always get you out, why don't you just start looking at yourself? Even with some of the advice that I used to give. I was the maddest person at giving advice. Like, so, you bro, I reckon you should. Until one time my cousin said to me, oh, you bro, you self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And it was a hard thing to swallow. It was a hard pill to swallow. But I swallowed it and I finally, sorry. Sorry. The pill.
Are you sure?
Sorry.
So, keep going about the pill.
Okay.
Let's go in the
So
trailer.
anyway,
Let's go in the trailer.
Sorry, back to sex education.
Yeah.
It is a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So I think that will help our communities better. If we're
Right.
just positive, because I've found that I've turned so many can'ts into can. When someone asked me just, bro, can you just, like for example, I saw my cousin grab me something from the car the other day. I just went and helped him.
Yeah.
Just helped him. Little things like these little changes that we make within ourselves will impact those around us.
Right.
And that's the key, because you can't change people around you because you don't know them, you don't know what they're feeling, you don't know what, so change you. Because if things start falling around you and people start distancing themselves from you, not just people, anything. You're not getting any luck in any jobs, or your CV you think's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Then I don't know about you, but you need to go sit down. And that's what I've been able to do now in my...
And I think helping yourself is the best thing anyone can do, because people look at you and they're judging you, and if they see that you're setting an example, you don't have to go out of your way to tell them what to do. They'll learn off you without even having to try. So it's easier, and it's the best method to do it. Thank you so much, Gus, honestly, but that was a lot of good advice, and I know a lot of people are going to take that to heart. But thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so easy for me, and it's enjoyable.
We talk too much?
Nah, that's all good, honestly. I really like that people can see it from your perspective. But thank you for coming on the show. He's starting a business, by the way.
It's a family business, SharsPolyFashions.com.
Follow them, Instagram, Twitter.
I gave you a little gift for you.
Thank you so much. Yes, oh my gosh. He gave me a gift.
So that's just something on behalf of my family.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Keep doing the great work.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.